with you, get them ready to take photos because there's a few lists on. Obviously, I've got quite a few 350 slides to get through, so I ain't going to manage to stay long on one slide for people to write everything down. So if you got your phone with you, just take a photo. But within a couple of days, this should be on my YouTube channel anyway. Right, a show of hands, all those who want to see a show of hands. I've got to have your permission to get this on YouTube. So can you wave at me? That'll do. Thank you very much. It's quite a few busy tonight, as I mentioned. So next Sunday, I'm going to do another one. When I first started growing veg, and especially exhibiting veg, there's very few people who tell me anything. So I thought, right, Sodja, I'm going to learn everything and tell everybody everything. And that's what I do in my talks. There's still two of them, the old ones who are stuck in the ways, that still don't talk to me because of that. Couldn't give a monkeys. So next Sunday I'm going to do another Zoom talk, and that's going to help people out in the sense, as we get into the growing season again, it'll be a greenhouse cultivation. So if anybody's interested in that, keep next Sunday evening free, 7 p.m. if you're interested. Right, that's that crap. I've got my 8 memories again here. I say as we start going through. If you remember, is this the photo it started going haywire last week, Sunday? Can you remember? The one before it. One before it was that one. We saw them two, didn't we? Went through them, and I'm sure the crap started on here, so that's where we're going. Right, greenhouse up at the back of the garden. We're going to get a summer this year. Admit. Meaning, sun trap. Crap. I'm going to fall now because of the anyway. Gets taught in our greenhouse for the toms, whatever I'm growing. So instead of buying a cool glass from Wilco, just get a bit of flour, put some water in it, and make a paste up. Get an old paintbrush and just wallop it on, and it works. It keeps the greenhouse nice and cool, and this comes off quite easily with a scourer, the sponge with a scourer on, warm soapy water. I ain't going to tell you that one because that's in my talk next week. Right, this is the greenhouse at the moment. That's the stage I'm in now. I've got a door on the front which is covering the other end. That is what I've got a heater. Luckily I've got electric up to the greenhouse, so there's a fan heater, electric fan heater on there. And that's kept at 50 or 10, whichever you work there. So during the day, if it's a nice sunny day, I'll turn the heating off and take that door off so there's a bit of ventilation in. But it's just that end, the other end that's heated. This end of the greenhouse is cold. So I'm doing the trial again. If I remember, people who have seen me Zooms the last couple of months or whatever, I tried some sets off, carrots, and starting my spuds off in a couple of 2-litre pots. So this is in the cold end of the greenhouse. This is in the warm end of the greenhouse. With spuds just coming through. You can either put them in the egg box to chit or start them off. I'll start mine off. And as you can see, the sets are just coming through there as well. But these will now be moved to the cold greenhouse. I don't want to get too far. And the carrots, this is 3 weeks. It's taken these to come through. The first lot of carrots. So this is in warmth. But I have got them in the cold end of the greenhouse as well. On to the next one. Right, plastic drinking cups, which I use for everything starting off. You see me greens in there. The next potting up, well, there's quite a few I did on Sunday that I've just got to quickly go over again because there's quite a few missed it. And because of the crap we had with this hacker, it stopped us taping it as well because I was going to put them two together. So the decent bits, I'm going to just go over them. Anything I prick out, like this one here, that is roots coming out of the bottom of the pepper, is telling me pop me on up to the first leaf. meaning you'll get extra roots out of that stem. So that's what I do. And the next size pot up from that, and these are from Poundland. Superb. I think it's 10 for the quid or something, but they're ideal. I started using these 2 years ago. I used to use the plastic clear cups, but the plants, for some reason, were sticking to the sides of the cup and I couldn't get them out. Leeks, these will be started off early Feb, so that ain't too far away. Cold greenhouse, just start them off in pots. I used to have a leek bed that's gone out the window years ago, and they will be in this position in about June. When we have the bring and buy for our gardening club, I've done 6 here for the gardening club, obviously, and a couple for myself. But ready to go out, pencil thickness. Put my line out, get a dibber, bung your holes in, and put your leeks in. Your leeks will be floppy for a couple of days. Once they've watered, once you put them in, water them, and after a couple of days they will stand up. But you've got to protect them, unless you're near the sea or somewhere where nobody else grows veg. There's quite a few people get away with this. We can't, because I'm on the allotment and I can't up our garden. Environment, right? Allium leaf miner, pain in the arse. It jobs all the alliums. See that onion in the middle? Nice and healthy. The fly, it come in about 12 years ago. Might be now, it's got to be 18 years ago or something. From Eastern Russia. We take anybody. This fly come in, allium leaf miner, meaning it mines into the middle of the leaf or the top of the leek, onion, whatever. Lays its egg, turns into a maggot, and the maggot, as it's crawling down the plant itself, it distorts them, like it has with him there. He's gone bloody loopy. But that one there is clear because he's nice and strong. That's what I do with anything I grow. I always start off more than what I want. Then the strongest only get put out, not the weak ones. Aphids, disease, anything, they know what's the weakest plant, and that's what they go for. Let me just admit our mate. Right, so the maggot or the fly is drilled in up here, lays its egg, it turns into a yellow maggot, and it tunnels its way right down to the bottom. When it gets down to the bottom, it then turns into a chrysalis. Now that will overwinter for next year, meaning if you don't get them out, well, when you do get them out, you've got to get a good root ball out with them as well. Otherwise, you're going to have that crap for years and years. I put a couple of chrysalis and the maggots in a jam jar, put a bit of tissue on the top. I wanted to see what the fly looked like, but those bloody SAS flies, they escaped. Yeah, I've got to watch these buggers. Right, me where to put top of the garden. If I run out of rainwater, I've got no choice, I've got to use tap water. There is that much crap in tap water to look after our teeth. It will kill the good bacteria in the soil. So I'll put 2 cupfuls of J's fluid in, give it a good stir, and leave it for 48 hours. Simple. We tunnel up the top of the garden, went a bit haywire, I had to replace it. This is 64mm gas piping, and they are put onto scaffolding boards, meaning that ain't going to blow away. If that blows away, the bloody house will go with it as well. Plastic on the top, obviously, and underneath netting. You've got to have ventilation with whatever you have. Surprised how hot this gets, even with this ventilation. And the door is netted as well. And with this raised, well, it's not a raised bed, it's a sunken bed, because I stepped down to go into it. But all that bed is pure good stuff, good brew. That's from the greenhouse looking up. I've got all raised beds at the top as well, working from waist height. You can see the different colour of bricks where I borrowed them when I was in the fire service. Perks in every job. But all these have got roofs on, clear plastic, and all the raised beds. Right, I'm going to cover this one again. Somebody asked us. My spuds, if I'm laid out, I don't earth up with the soil, meaning I'm wasting that soil. I'm moving it away, I won't get no spuds in. So I earth up with manure and straw. If it's stable manure, you've got the bonus having the muck in as well. And if there's another frost forecast, I will top dress that with even more straw. As soon as we get flowers on, then I have a look underneath, see how big the taters are doing, feed them, water them, whatever they want. Once the taters are big enough to take out, I take them off and then earth up that plant again. I don't pull a plant up at all. That plant has got to survive. Look after them. Pink fair apple, I ain't done these for a few years, but I might go back to them. Beautiful tasting tater. I'm a funny shape. You can't peel it. Well, you don't want to peel them anyway. The skins are beautiful, taste beautiful. But just a sponge, give them a nice wash. But that big and right on the right, you fill the bloody pan up. The only thing that's trouble with these. Look at that. Love me grub. I eat like a horse. Don't put no weight on. That's the way to do it. Good thing now, these are from Wilco. I've bought out, if you go and look for Albert Bartlett, they bought out Anya. That's the name of it. It is a pink fair apple tater, but they now do it so it grows like a normal tater. It doesn't sash shapes. So I'm going back to that one again. It's a good one. Busting taste. Right, blight on your taters, tomatoes. This is inside the greenhouse, outside, or whatever. You can control this to a certain degree in the sense. Usually, you see the leaves and the stems. If you can get it early, take the leaves off. Obviously, most people can't get it early. But most of us should be on the internet. Just put in blight, fight against blight. This has been going for yonks for the farmers. And all you do is get in touch with them, put fight against blight. And you have to give them your, obviously they've got your email because you've been in touch with them. And you have to give them your address. See at the bottom, mine is B63. So if there's farmers in the same area as me, and there's blight prevalent in our area, they will let all the farmers know first, or wherever the blight is. And then somebody said this years ago, well, if you're telling that to the farmers, why can't you tell it to the normal gardener? And luckily they said, oh, go on then. So anybody can get in. It's free, and it's worth it. Because you get an email, you also get because I got your phone number. Wait a minute. You ain't got to give me a phone number, I'll give him as well. So you get a message as well. As you can see there, B63, so then you can do something about it. Dethane 965, still flog this down our trading sheds. So then you go around and give him a spray for blight. Until they take that one off us again. I've still got a few of them in our trading sheds. Right, that's my tunnel on the plot, the old tunnel that lasted, of course I made this with a gas piping, broom handles, bloody offcuts, everything. But it lasted me 7 years. But it was a good one. Then a storm had it, and luckily Mother bought me this one, Haygrove Tunnel. This cost over £1,000. I wouldn't have bloody paid it. But I don't like to tell my mother off. But it is nice and sturdy, but it comes with two sides on. If you can see that there's wind up sides on the tunnel. Them two you can wind down. Now if you turn them down, there's very little ventilation at all, meaning I'd never be in a position where I'd have them down. So I cut them straight off. I then run the gaffer up, Baygrove. Said if you give people the option to have these tunnels with and without the sides, if you flog them without the sides, how much will it knock off? He says about 400 quid. I said, well, give him the option. You'll flog more. He put the bloody phone down on me. Sod him. The environment they got on the end, I've took off. That's the with the thickness of it. I took that out and put my own in, and I'm just taking the sides off again there and putting my own environment in with the biggest hole, so I've got air movement all the way through it. That's better. Also now I've got a little fan, solar panel, or a couple inside the tunnel, just for a bit of air movement. You've got to have air circulation, whatever you're growing in. Obviously, there ain't many days yet where I've opened the greenhouse door. Well, been to the sun for a while. On our site, you have to have planning permission because we're self-governed anyway, but you still got to go through us. Otherwise, somebody'd have a shed, really 3-story high. If you want a shed, tunnel, or a greenhouse, you've got to have planning permission. If you have a wooden structure, you can do what you want. So here I'm doing a wooden structure over 2 raised beds. So there's plastic on the top, and there's enviromesh all the way around the bottom, and this still gets red hot again in the summer. So even with that enviromesh, biggest hole I can get, plus the door's netted anyway, it still gets hot. So you've got to be careful. So I've got a big fan in there on the end as well. I think that was 50 quid, that, but it was getting. On the bottom of me half plot, I've got another wooden structure, and this one is surrounded in scaffolding netting. Because we're surrounded by 3 fields on our site, meaning pigeons are a pain in the arse. So the top I've taken off because it's all velcroed on, and I've took the top off, luckily, because we've had 2 good dollops of snow since. Right, rhubarb, end of the season, take all the stuff off, compost it, and then manure it. If you get a frost forecast again, just put more manure in. You'll be the first to be picking. Look at that. The larger the onion, the milder it is. Crusty cob, cheese and onion. That's why people buy Spanish onions, nice and mild, because they're bigger than ours. Caslon Primary School. They used to have one class that had 1 raised bed on my allotment, and the beds are 4 foot wide, and each kid had a 2 foot by 4 foot. They could grow what they wanted to grow. It's not growing something if they don't hate it. They're their own. Health and safety, stop the kids coming down, PC Brigade. So this is on the school grounds. I asked the head if I could do a full allotment for the kids. He weren't going to say no because it's good publicity for him. So I got a $5,000 from our zone area committee, and I did a raised bed there. On top of that went a tunnel, and then I started my way up. All raised beds. Sylvia Eel, we had a proper opening day. She was the deputy House Commons Speaker, who lives local. I got her to open it up. We were bloody talking for 15 minutes, so I went round the back, did some weeding. Now I just get the kids to open up. What a waste of space. When I get a new influx of kids, these are a new lot. I always go down Tesco or something because they've got everything in. So I get a sweet pepper, any fruit that's in, raspberries, plums, the lot. And it's surprising how many kids have never tasted a sweet pepper. So I start off, I pick a sweet pepper up, I take a chunk out, then I pass it to the first kid. Obviously I eat mine. And I said, try that. If you don't like it, spit it out. And if I just get one kid at the end, say, I love it. When the parents come, I say to the parents, your little one likes sweet potatoes. No, he doesn't. He's never had one. I said, well, he's had one. Just educate them. Caslon Primary School, bird's eye view. You've got a cul-de-sac road at the top, 1 road going down. And the fresh air these get, because there's no pollution, nothing, 2 fields on the other side. But the land they've got is superb. And my tunnel, my plot is right up this end. We had the only after school, because it weren't passed on at school's national curriculum, which it's supposed to have been. We had the biggest waiting list for the after school activity. Because there was that hyper to get going, Tuesday afternoon, 3:05 till 4:15. The kids was that bloody hyper, I couldn't cope with them. Because of course sellotape them to a tree anymore or bury them. So I used to send them out collecting molehills, and they'd come back knackered. I could cope with them then. I weren't supposed to bring the kids down to our plot, but where the school is, they've only got to walk on the same footpath. Takes them 5 minutes, and they're at our allotment side. So I dragged them down. Let me admit, I dragged them down here because we had a load of muck delivered, and we nicked some muck, take it back up to school. So a bit of entertainment for the troops, well, for the men anyway. We had 4 nuggets each, stand on a spot, and then you throw it at each other. Fancy wearing a white shirt. You don't wear a white shirt next week. I've never had a kid who's had rhubarb dipped in sugar. This is because we've lost 2 generations of gardeners, i.e. the parents, because they've never had gardening at school. We're going to come unstuck at gardening clubs. Everything I used to do on a Tuesday, I used to put it on the internet, on Facebook, for other schools to see what I was doing and the involvement I was doing. And then somebody come up and says, you shouldn't put the kids' photos on Facebook. So I took these for her, and then next week I says, "I bloody saft. I've got permission off the head, which clears the school. I've got permission off the parents, which clears the kids. But these photos are for you." Drove the kids down again, down to my plot. They have to walk away with something every time. Some nice gladies there. Wish I could bloody grow them like that now. If it was a nice sunny afternoon, because I threatened before, because I threaten them if they behave, then at the end I'll say we have a water fight. If we behave, we don't. And quite a few nights we've ended up and they've been like drowned rats. You can't do that now, bloody health and safety. Because they was growing good stuff, i.e. they had my spares, I've got them engaged. This is garden organic. Where am I? This was down in Coventry, Prince Charles's place. 50-year celebration this was, and let's go back on that one. They got the schools, any school, local school that had got a grounds allotment or whatever growing in stuff, they could enter produce. So we entered our stuff down. That was back on the school again. That was Molly's birthday, so I made her a cake out of Osmo. They love it. Right, here's Charlie doing the rounds. The kids could put their own little tray of gardening stuff in. I think Mr. Flowerdew judged this one. But that's the display what the kids grew on their site. And the judges wouldn't believe, well, they didn't believe that the kids grew it. I says, you grow it. I says, no. I've told them what to do. They've grown it. They wouldn't have it, so we left early. I says, you haven't stuck egg. So I fell out with them and all. So then I got the kids exhibiting down Malvern. I had to organise this myself as well. Kids' school trug. Anything they grew on the school grounds, they just put in the trug. I managed to get somebody's to lend me the trugs. Who just entered them as well. They got a certificate, National Vet Society, because I was a big Midland Branch Schools rep. That's the last time the NVS went on there. Right, if you're growing, if you've got a row of cabbage in, and you chop the first one off, this is what I can remember my grandfather doing this. If you don't need that room again, leave him in and just put a cross in the top on it, meaning you've opened it up again to a bit of moisture and warmth. Don't forget the plant has got to survive. He's got to start growing again. If you see that bottom one, he's already started throwing shoots. So by the time he got halfway across when you've got the last cabbage up, see then, I'll come back to the first one and I've got another meal again for at least 3 on us, cabbage wise. Obviously, if you need the room, pull them out all together. But if you don't need the room, get the most out of your greens. I put this on earlier on, but just for some new ones or who ain't been on before. If you get some runners that have gone over the top, still take them off because you can still use the beans. Plug them in with your stuff. And the sweet corn, when you plant them out, wear a leaf axle where the leaf dies off. And you've got these shoots coming out. If they don't touch the ground within 2 or 3 days, they will die off. But if you can catch them, earth the plant up, and you get a stronger and healthier plant. No need to stake them. And they will stand up. Nice black beard on the top tells you it's ready. And you've got your nice colour all the way down. Right, I needed a challenge. This was a few years back. So I borrowed some ground off the council. Basically, I was doing a couple of allotments for disabled, one for walking, one for wheelchair. Obviously, once I'd got it all fenced in, then I could open it from our end and get in that way. It took me 2.5 years, and I had 29 grand lottery funded money. This one was for the wheelchair disabled, obviously, so the pathways are going to be tarmac. But the first team I got was a green team. These are the walking could say, well, people with learning difficulties, I'll put it that way, these are me walking. But they loved it. They can switch off, they can bring the dinner down. If it piddles down, they just go in the tunnel. But they loved it. And I got them exhibited and all. But they lost their transport and knackered them up. This was somebody else who come and they lost their transport. And I've got Alice House there at the moment, and they're still there. But obviously because of the COVID crap, I've got to help out with the plots. And this is when I drove the kids down as well, because these lot got on together great. But I love it. Keep your brain and your body active. These lot, I got them exhibiting as well. This is at our place, Colligate Gardening Club, and we used to fiddle the books. So this is a presentation, right? So everybody won, but they loved it. Then I got the local councillor to open that up again. I should have bothered. I should have got one of the lads to do it. And it was one of the first allotments in the West Mids to get the Green Flag Award for the service to the children, people with learning difficulties and whatever. Jean on the right, who's on a committee for the plot and the gardening club, a worker. And there's Mike Hobby on the right, us three between us. And our helpers. We used to have an open day, but it was all on us three mainly doing all the crap. So we get in Nick in the end. But it used to be good. And anything we did make, we split it between the two allotments. So that was the walking. Abbey Road allotments surrounded by 3 fields, meaning pigeons, a pain in the arse, badgers, foxes, everything. You can see the top left where I nicked that ground off the council. Because it took me about 6 months to get that, somebody to put it in bloody writing. They never even come down. They got no interest whatsoever. All I needed was one for walking and one for a wheelchair. Just come this way, sorry. So I thought, right, Sodger, instead of asking land for 2, I got land for 8, and then knocked another 6 off our waiting list. I still don't bloody know. Sodden. Right, composting. When it happens, turn into fertilizer. During the week, I'm saving me scraps in the kitchen. Nothing cooked. If it's cooked, I eat it. I've also got to keep my carbon, so my egg boxes, I'm ripping them up while I'm watching something on the box, which I very often, the missus as the control. So at the end of the week, Monday morning, my composting down, unless it's piddling down, then it's Tuesday. So at the end of the week, I've got a good bit of carbon. I need some more, so I'll go to a charity shop. The wine I make wine out of everything. Cabbage wine and onion wine is vile. Don't try it. Others are good ones. I don't drink it. Mrs. likes a vodka. I like my cider. I exhibit the wine. I also use them as bribes and thank yous. So the wenches down the charity shop, I bribe them with wine and they save me their oldest paperback books. If you go to a charity shop and look at the side, you can see where it's going brown. There. The older the book, the better. Because that paper has already started deteriorating. It is telling you, compost me. Right, two ways you can compost. You can use heat or you can use worms. I want my worms to do my digging. If you use heat, you won't get no worms, obviously, because it's too hot. This was a visit down to John Brannon's place. He was a hot composter, first one I'd ever met. I lost my bloody arrow. Now he got that metal rod in there and he slowly took his hand down that rod. He got halfway down and he took his hand off. Any further, he'd have burnt his hand. That shows you the heat that's generated in the middle. But because it's only hot in the middle, you have to turn compost if you're hot composting. That's the only drawback, because you need the outside to be cooking as well. That's what I want. Worms, they do my digging, so I use them. These are just photos of so-called compost heaps going up our... He might as well park his mobility scooter in there, that ain't going to do nothing. That's what I started off with, wooden pallets. Perfect. One for leaf mould, one for compost, and one for manure. Straight into the ground. Slabs are just for me to stand off. The pallets are lined with horticultural plastic. A couple of holes in the side just for a bit of air ventilation, but air will get in. This is what I started off with. The smaller you can get the ingredients, the better breakdown, quicker the better the breakdown. So I chop everything up in a bucket. There it is, chopped up. I get an empty compost bag and throw that bucket into that empty bag, which is on top left. I then get a double handful of me carbon and throw that in as well. These are extra scraps I've got from an old photo. So I do that lot. And then little, flogging these £8 extendable. I ain't even got a bend now. I can chop them up standing up. And then I mixed everything. I mixed in my carbon with my greens. This is kitchen waste and garden waste, which I chop up. And that's what it looks like mixed. You could eat that now, couldn't you? Really look. At the top of the plot, I've got other bags of other natural ingredients. If they're all natural ingredients, that tells you that they're going to break down, which is nature. Right, compost ingredients. Leaf mould. You can still get leaf mould now. And there's some good stuff about, because it's had a month or so to break down as it is. I might go and get another dollop. We've got to piddle down all day tomorrow. So if it's a nice Friday, I might go and get some more. Wood burner ash, wooden, straw, worm casts if you can get it, wood chip. Wood chip I started using about 3 years ago. We had wood chip delivered on site and it rained overnight. The next morning, it was cooking. That's just after 6 hours or something. I thought, bloody no, but it's common sense, isn't it? It's a natural product. So if you're filling raised beds up, the first thing you put in is wood chip on the bottom. If there's any big lumps, I'm going to throw them out, but wood chip, excellent. Sand, sawdust, spent mushroom compost, spent hops. If you've got a brewery near, the spent barley as well, they have to get rid of their hops. Spent peat, that's from my grow bags from the year before. Topsoil, best topsoil, and you get molehills. There's a mate on Facebook this afternoon. He's been getting seaweed and molehills. Jammy bugger. Bracken, if you can get it, that's so much we can't get around here. Spent coffee grounds. The manures, horse, cow, sheep, goat, alpaca, llama, rabbit, chicken and pigeon. I should mention it later on, but just in case I do forget, alpaca, llama and rabbit, those 3 manures you can use straight away. Even if it's just come out on him, you can use it. There's no strength in it. There's a bit of strength, obviously, but unlike chicken and pigeon, them two are too strong. So what I do with the pigeon and the chicken, dry it out, then put it through a shredder. Now it comes out weaker because it's not in one big dollop. Basalt rock dust, get that by the ton. I've been having this for moons because it is good stuff. Perfect planes, I'm going through this again. This was on Wicklas Sunday. Volcano eruption. Now this is obviously lava from the centre of the earth. So the dust is dust particles. And there's millions of minerals and bacteria which we haven't got up top. That's why I like my rock dust. And that's what it does after a couple of months. It is that good, because it's in dust form, it goes in straight away. Because I get it as a rock, well, it's still classed as rock dust, but the granules are bigger than dust itself, what comes out of a volcano. But it's that small, well, it shows you there. It's bloody green, that's how good it is. And that's the state where you get it. So what I'm doing now, trialing, I'm crushing this up so it is a dust, meaning it's going to start working straight away. But there's stuff in there which we can't get. And there's still people whinging about it. Couldn't give a monkeys. If you don't like it, they'll use it. Brewery, spent hops. They have to get rid of their spent hops. The breweries now by us, because I've all had me bloody talk. Everybody's nicking it. But it's a good brew. Anybody recognise where that is? Portsmouth. Went on a reunion. Organised reunion down Pompey, and I got there Friday afternoon while I was still sober. I thought I'd go and get some seaweed. And I just got my second bag, and this little man in a high vis made me put it back. I says, "What time did you knock off, mate?" He says, 4 o'clock. I said, "Thank you." 4:10, I went down, got me 4 bags of seaweed. If you live in the Midlands like us, you can't get seaweed. Well, if you can get it, it's surprising how quick it dries out. And I dry it out, then I put it through the shredder twice. Beautiful stuff. If you go and get it like us in the Midlands, cheat, go to Holland about or anywhere that sells sea kelp and just crush a tablet up. Anything that is seaweed based, it is good. Maxi crop. As a feed is seaweed based. Manure. This is heaven. This is where I want to take the missus for a picnic and a deck chair and a good book. But it divorced me, so I'll leave her at home. That's my mate, King Canute. I've only got 2 horses. I'm bloody bigger than mine. Good thing about this place, I go up after it's been raining all night, so I'll pick the runoff on the bottom. Liquid horse muck. Here I'm all loaded up. You can see the muck flies back window, so I have to drive on, breathe through my ears. Right, so all those different ingredients I've just mentioned, I open all those bags up, and a double handful of everything goes into me chopped kitchen and garden waste, and that is mixed up. So the one on the right, that's my chopped kitchen and garden waste, and the one on the left, that's with a double handful of this lot. You take on in the bin yet. I've mixed everything for them, meaning worms, bacteria haven't got to go anywhere. It's there, they haven't even got to look for it. All they got to do is eat and multiply, meaning keep them moist, keep them warm, and they will multiply rapidly and go through everything rapidly. A few years ago, these were somebody bought these out, black wall bins. The government give the councils a wad of money to get people into gardening, especially into composting. On the left, you got a 330 litre. On the right is your 220 litre. You could have 3 bins per household. Our old man Dave one is, so I had 6. I had the 330s. This is still going. Anybody's interested, take a photo of that or write it down. But just give them a ring, tell them you're interested in the composting bins. And they will then ask you for your postcode to see which council you come under. Different councils are doing different deals. It might be the first 330 litre bin is 15 quid. The second one is half price, free delivery. But different councils are doing different deals, but I'm still doing it. Well, it surprised me how many people also have these bins and they get rid of them. Obviously, because they see my talk. So a 2-inch layer of my chopped ingredients. Water it if it needs it until I get to the top or finished. Then I put a carpet lid on top. If you've got an off licence near you, go into them and ask them when they do their stock check. Ours does it first Monday of the month. So I says, right, first Tuesday of the month, I'll throw it away for you. He says, that's very kind of you. I says, I know. This is perfect for a feed for the composting. Even a Coke that's gone flat, ideal for the composting. We used to have an alcoholic on one of our sites. And if you're at alky, I can hear a ring pull from like 8 miles away. And I used to open a can of Guinness. He'd turn around, he'd see me pour it on the composting. Shit. His teeth told him now. Right, my wine. Right, something started toppling my stuff. Got inside me compost bin, eating all my worms. I thought, right, you bugger. I've got to stop him because I want my worms. So I chick him by the bottom. Stopped him getting in. I took the bin off there so you can see the run underneath where he goes. Now all he's got to do is lie in his mouth with his mouth open and the worms drop through. So I had to put my brain into gear again. Right, when I'm starting off with the empty bin, I put a foot of straw in. And by the time that straw's broken down, I fill my bin, the compost is ready, out. He ain't got no worms. And it works. And because I've got that straw on the bottom, there's no disturbance whatsoever. This is nature at work. This is my mycelium at work before it gets into mycorrhizae fungi and everything. Before I used to make my own leaf mould, I used to cheat, go to a forest or a wood, and I used to scrape in the leaf mould. And behind used to be white fibrous roots. That is nature, mycorrhizae fungi. It is no disturbance, and that's what I want. I want to work with nature. Nature will win every time. That's what I want to see, worms. I took the lid off doing a moisture check, and all the worms was in the bin. I know it's a bit moist around the top of the lid anyway, but it weren't that. I was trying to get out, meaning that I put something in the bin which I don't like, and it was these. Because I was having extra scraps from the old folks home, I was putting these in. If I was to bite into a lemon, orange or onion, I'd pull a face. Worms can do exactly the same. I mean, eventually they will break down. Don't forget I want my compost ready within 3 weeks to a month. So since I've left these out, I mean, if you put them in and you're happy with it, carry on. But since I've kept them out, I've had no problem whatsoever. I then put the date on the top and go to the next bin. In the winter, I don't want the worms to get cold and clear off, so I put carpet around. And I also now put black plastic around that, and the black absorbs the heat and the sun if it's out. In the summer, I take the carpet off and wallop them in white. That repels the heat and the light, keeps them nice and cool. Look after your worms, you will get compost 12 months of the year, as I do. So the one on the left is your chopped kitchen and garden waste. One in the middle is your addition of all the other ingredients, and the one on the left is your end product after a month. And this was took from my book, which, I'll say it again, by another week it will be out on Amazon. I said that last week. My publisher is like me, so it's me youngest who's doing it, but he's a stippler too. In a road. That's what it ends up. If you make good compost, you can make compost tea out of it. The Americans are doing this, been doing it 20 odd years. We're behind quite a few countries because we're behind. But it's that big in the States now, meaning it bloody works. All they're doing is using compost as a feed, as a soil drench, and as an insecticide. No fertilizer, no insecticides, they just use compost tea. So there's my compost. If you don't make good compost yet and you want some good compost, you can get it from Symbio. They do the compost tea bins as well, aerators and all the everything. They're on the internet, just bog them in and have a purr. Right, there's my compost. This is after 3 weeks. Don't forget, I'm still trialing. But I know I've got good compost. All you need is a container. It's all according whether you got an allotment, 2 allotments, or a good sized back garden. If you ain't got much of a garden, then obviously you can get away with just using a bucket. But you've got to have oxygen, meaning you've got to have an air stone, an air brick out of a tank. Them only a couple of quid. That gives you oxygen. It's got to be rainwater. If you use tap water, nothing will happen because it will kill the good bacteria as it starts going in. So your rainwater's in there. You put your air stone in the bottom. Get your compost ready. Now, if you make your own wine and you put a yeast in, that is your Kickstarter for the wine. That gets the fermentation going. This is exactly the same with your compost tea. Blackstrap molasses. Quite a few women use molasses for cooking. It's sugars, but it is perfect for making compost tea. It's a kickstart, but it's got to be unsulfured. These are a couple of quid on eBay. Unsulfured molasses. I love it. Brewing is either between 12 and 24 hours. But you can see the good bacteria on the top. This is what you want. But the oxygen is feeding the compost inside your bag or inside the bin. What I do now is I put it in a pair of tights. That stops all the lumps getting in, because that liquid then you can also use it as a foliar feed because there's no lumps in the feed. It's not going to block anything up. But it is a bloody good brew. And this is the brew I use, which we'll come on to later on, which I'll prove that it works. I'm getting the lumps out there, as you can see, because I want to put it in the sprays as well. I'll just put a dollop in the compost bin. That'll do that lot good. And then I fed everything. But when the compost tea is ready, when you're finished, you turn it off. It is best to use it within 12 hours or something, because it will slowly start breaking down. The quicker you can use it, the better. But it's usually 10-to-1 ratio. So you're going to be able to do everything with it. But it is superb stuff. It's the best feed and foliar feed that you can get. Obviously, foliar feed wise, I spray when the sun's gone off. That is everything in the greenhouse, everything on the orchards, on the garden, on the plot, everything. But it's beautiful stuff. But Symbio flog the lot until you get sort yourself out. Everything gets it. These flit sprayers, if anybody's got a couple of £100 to spare, you can get these from, well, most bloody things are from China now, but these cost £2 each. To get them, to buy these, I'm 20 odd quid. We've still got them left. I run out about 5 months ago. But they cost £2 each. Obviously, you've got your transport on top of that. Well, the £2 each is with your transport, but you've got to have 200 at a time. That's a small print. But there ain't nobody flogging them over here, as I know of. But the mist on them, it is superb. I can remember grandfather having one of these. He had a brass bowl on the bottom for his roses, a flit sprayer. The smaller the particle of the mist or the sprayer, the better it will hang on to a plant. That's what I used to have on the right, and it was naff compared to him on the left. Superb. Foliar feeds, great believe you. Epsom salts, 1 teaspoon per litre. Liquid fish, just I might have a bottle on that. It's what you get at hydroponic shops. And charge, which is your beetle dung. Gareth, my mate, he flogs that. Comes to that later on. Mastic up. A few places do that, Wilco, whatever. But alternate the sprays and use rainwater again. Neem oil, I started using this yonks ago, and now it's coming back into fashion. I can remember when I was at school, we were thinking about Biafra and all this. There was swarms of locusts sweeping Africa, and they were eating bloody everything. And the only thing they never touched was a neem tree. So they started looking into it. Now they make the neem oil, and there's that many. Well, it's good for bloody everything. But after the second spraying of this, you don't get no supposed to not get any aphids. So I've started using that again as well. This one I got last year. This was because we had something new, flea beetle, about 3 years ago. Never heard on it, but we got it on our site. So I looked into it, and it's been around for 20 odd years. Never even bloody heard on it. But this gets rid of flea beetle. Well, it gets rid of bloody everything. But this is from the States as well. Meaning you have to buy it in 3s with postage. But I just flogged them. I got another 2 people who split them between us. But that is like a talcum powder. So all I do is put it in my hand, and then I blow it on, so it spreads evenly. You don't waste it like putting talcum powder on. But that jobs everything. Deep clean. This is for thrip, red spider mite, crap like this. I think it's about 28-30 quid on the. But it is a concentrate. But I don't like using baddies. But for exhibition stuff, I ain't going to waste money growing and then losing it because of all the little horrors. But obviously, I don't like using if I got them. Carrots, florist bucket or anything bigger. Multi-purpose compost mixed with vermiculite. So thinly, just normal carrots from Wilco. And the skins are that thin, no need to peel because I haven't touched any soil, so there's no markings on them. And in fact, there's 3 nice carrots in there. Could have bloody exhibited them. They go straight down. Right, British BBC rung us up, asked me about this thing. Anna Titmarsh organised this, or we compared it. Said, do you fancy putting heavy vegging? I says, go on, I like a challenge, so I was up for it. Obviously, I was at Calcabby in the Midland section. What it was, I went in for a heavy leak. Now, the Wilton strain was the heaviest leak at the time. Luckily, my mate had 5 spares. He says, yeah, I'm lucky I got 5 left. Otherwise, I couldn't have entered. So I put these in. And this is the first time that I used my compost tea on them. And this proved that it works. This was at Calcabby. Luckily, it was a nice day. If it was piddling down, it would have been chaos because there was no shelter whatsoever for the public. And the good thing about today as well, my mate on the left of me there, Dave Goodwin, I met him from up Chesterfield, and he was they entered a league on behalf of the kids he worked for, the adults with learning difficulties. He's a good lad. He stayed in touch ever since, and we see each other regular. Then he comes down the show. So that's us staging now at leagues on the top of there. Now, there was looking at the 2 big leagues there. I thought, looking at them, I'm going to come third because there was two big boys that supposedly should have won. That was me doing a spiel for the BBC, and halfway through we had to cut because I'd got a Wilco, Wilco bag in between my legs. He says, "Oh, have you been around buying stuff, jams and all the stands and that?" I says, "No, I bought nothing." And he says, "Well, what you got in your bag?" Oh, Christ almighty. I showed him, I said, "It's sheep muck." He says, "What do you mean sheep muck?" Because it's all green around the bloody Calc Abbey. You get bored after a bit because all the judging going on. I said, "I've been collecting sheep muck." So they had to cut and start again. Obviously, my bag's behind the bloody mustard. They'll learn. So there's Al. He's a good lad, he is. And that's the leak I put in. Nice one. I was pleased with the chap. I won it. And this one, where is it? Oh, it goes a bit early. I won with this leak at Calc Abbey. The two that should have won didn't. And their leaks were bigger than mine. Except mine weighed more than theirs. In the sense, my leaves were thicker and they was wider. Why? Foliar feed. That's the only reason. They got a better strain than what I had. And that upset them. Well, it upset quite a few of them. So that proved that it worked. And this is the one, because I went down to the Nationals then at I Grove, Charlie's place. This is the one I got for the National. You just see a fat milk bottle just next to it for the size on it. Obviously got to be clean roots and all this crap. And there, John Salisbury won from up north, and I came second to him. But I was chuffed with that and all. So it just proved your compost tea does work. Foliar feed. Right, this was took last year. Spring cabbage, curly cow, whatever. All I do now, because it's only me and the missus normally, for weekly feeds, I just grow a couple of plants, and all I do is take the outside leaves off, and that plant has got to survive. It will carry on growing, and that's what I do. And you can do that with spinach, curly kale, whatever. There's loads of things. You don't need hordes of plants. Just have two. Put out the strongest plant, give the other one away, or put two in. Courgette, you only need one. He's gone bloody haywire. Right, raised beds, no dig. Raised beds, before they come in, years ago, people used to do a trench, a leek trench, or a bean trench. People still do it now. Some people do a bean trench, that throw all the crap in. A trench is a raised bed upside down. So instead of bugging it on the underneath, you put it on top, and that's what I've done. All raised beds have been for 20 odd years. I haven't dug for 30 odd years. All my beds are 26 foot long, 4 foot wide, meaning I can reach the middle from either side. I'm never going to tread on it, meaning I'm never going to compact the soil. You only dig because you've trod on it. You've compacted the soil. Oh, latecomer, admit him. So you only dig because you compact it. So my spade and fork there, I ain't used for yonks. Well, unless I've got to get a large leak out or anything like that, then obviously you got to use them. But otherwise, the less disturbance for my soil, the better. One disadvantage with raised bed, they dry out quicker. You get around that as well. Advantages, soil warms up quicker, so you can plant out earlier. You've got a good brew in the raised bed, so you're going to get a better brew whatever you plant out. You have a good top on it. Raised bed ingredients, wood chip. What I tell people now, put wood chip on the bottom. Start off with that. Because I know people put rubble in and all this crap. We can't afford to put decent stuff in. Most of this stuff is similar to what I put in the compost, meaning it's free, it's natural, it's going to break down. So if you start off with wood chip, seaweed, bracken, straw, then manure, and then add the rest if you can get them. I'll spent mushroom compost. I got a contact for that. Well, I get that by the ton now. Ops, we got a delivery for that. The brewery drops it off free because they need to get rid of it. They have the barley as well. Topsoil, obviously, my molehills. Worm casts, I get that by the ton as well. That's a good seller at our gardening club because they've all had me talk. I've all used it and they know it works. Spent peat out my grow bags. Wood burner ash sand. Spent coffee grounds. The bedding manures, this is to add straight on top, i.e. at the end of the season, if I've just pulled a last cabbage out, I'll then top dress it with either manure or my compost or both. I'll then water it and then cover it with a weed suppressant. Nature is then get going. But you can top dress with a manure or whatever. Just get a good waiter. Right, my first raised beds, these were from pallets, exactly the same as my bins. So from moving from the old plot down to this one, I bought my rhubarb, my bench. Still never bloody sat on it, well I'll get it away now. And me raised beds from down there as well, out of pallets. And then luckily, for the good thing for the gardener, for us, well any bloody gardener, health and safety. If you get a split now in a scaffolding board, they can't use it, health and safety. So there's that many scaffolders now, got boards, what that bloody clicked on now, because I know the gardeners are after them. But I used to get a 13-foot board delivered for £8.50. But they've started slowly putting the price up. A scaffolding board is going to last you moons. If I'd have took a photo of his wheels, I was nearly bloody flat. He was overloaded, but he got an allotment as well, so he knew what he was doing. So all I'm doing now is drying my boards off, and I'm going to cover them in horticultural plastic. I'm sealing them dry, and they will stay dry. Obviously, unless I catch the plastic or something. I get the black tape from Wilco. That's as sticky as a ferret. Right, I've done all my boards, and then something started coming down, and that there, a molehill smacked his head on the side, then went inside my bed. Started nicking me worms. Look at his little face. The bloody claws on him. Gordon Bennett. Got to get rid of him. So I fed him mothballs. He bloody ate them. Can't get them now. Well, he might be able to do them next year out the EC crap. I had to get a mole catcher in. He said, of course, every mole I've been after. He said, if I don't catch him, you don't pay me. I says, well, you're bloody right there. And he couldn't catch him. He says, I can't understand it. Now, that field at the back, if you see that field at the back there, if you pretend that is somebody's lawn, and that lawn has been there 50 odd years, that ground is solid. So if a mole burrows through that, it's going to stick to his burrow. If he goes in my raised bed, he ain't got a burrow. He just walks. He goes where he wants. He can sense a trap. You know, he don't run straight through the burrow into the trap. And that's why he couldn't catch him. So I had to take him home. So then I thought, well, I've got to do the same as what I do to my compost bins. I put chicken wire at the bottom of all the beds. I then staple that to the timber. Put plastic back on. Right, my bench. This bench is dedicated to the mole. It cost me £65. The missus has only been up the plot twice, so I heard her coming up with a mate. I thought, shit, the bench. I had to go into the boot and get a blanket out and throw it over that sign. If I knew how much I spent on gardening, it'd kick me out. Good job of racing on my talks. That's what cost me £65. Luckily, I got a mate who's got a plot down Craigleith. He took on a full plot next to him, and he wanted to do a chicken pen on the full allotment, meaning he needed a full row of chicken wire. This was off eBay, but the only way you could get the chicken wire was to buy 3 rolls. They wouldn't split it, meaning it was still cheap for him because he knew he could flog the other 2, i.e. I had one of him. But there was that much wire there, and it took 4 adults to pick it up. That's how much wire there was. I did all my raised beds on my 1.5 plots. All the ones up at school and the 2 disabled plots. And I've still got wire left over. But galvanised, and it's going to bloody last. So at the end of the season, when I've took some out, I top dress with my compost. Water it. The worms then will do my digging, i.e. nature. and that's top dressing all the beds are done. What I do now, which I started doing 2 years ago, is I spread this over, I water it and then put the covers on. You got the cover, yeah, just watered it and then put the covers on. Now what I do, this was from well, there no bloody shows last year, so say September, October, I started doing these all and fit them in. So if I've covered it, every 3 weeks after that, exactly the same as my compost bins, I do a moisture check. So I'll lift the corner up. If it started to dry out, meaning I can't see a worm, I'll then give it a watering can and go over it with a watering can. If the growing medium is moist, it is working. If it dries out, it is ticking over, if that makes sense. Because the bacteria, fungi, the worms have got to have moisture to get going. So I'll do a moisture check on them as well. And that bloody works, I'll prove that. This is a raised bed in my tunnel. This one took some filling up. Seaweed meal, I like that because it's obviously natural seaweed based. And also on here, when the old man kicked the bucket, I waited till we cremated him, then I put him on. Our kid had half on him, and I put half of him on here. Mother's on there as well. And my mate Colin, he went on and helped when he legged it and all. In fact, all my mates are on there. I can now talk to him when I go down the plot. Right, that one on the left to that one on the right is a raised bed. That's what you do. If you've got someone growing him on the right and he gets pot bound, you pot him on to a bigger raised bed. So raised beds are good. Top orchard, and I finished replacing all my boards, original boards, which was pallets, you remember. That was bloody yonks ago. So they lasted well because I was covered in plastic. But now these are good. Well, I'm all waiting for me to kick the bucket now. There's a bloody waiting list for my plot. But these are 3 boards high because of the slope of the allotment. 3 boards high this end and 2 boards going at the top end just to get a level bed. Less bending. You've got to think when you get old. I still want to go gardening when I'm 90 odd. I was the first one to have raised beds on our plot. Over 3/4 of our site now are raised beds. They know it works. And I mentioned the only one disadvantage with raised beds is they dry out quicker. But up heaven, because it's stable manure, I've got my straw plus my nuggets. So whatever I'm growing, all the beds, once they are come through, then the bed is strawed. And if I've got an extra nugget in, that's an extra feed as well. The straw keeps in the moisture, the warmth, keeps the weeds down, and it works. You don't get to water so much. So I've got round that in. I love me Gladys. If you're on Facebook, where am I? Shit. Bear with me. If you're on Facebook, there's a British Gladiolus Society. I've joined them, and luckily last year, because there's no shows, I saw all. They put a virtual show on, which was brilliant for me. Because I learned through these lot as well, because obviously people putting tips on and talking through what I'm growing, putting photos on. And so I thought, well, I'm still going to go for it. And I showed on here, and I got a couple of seconds and thirds. But this is show glads. You can get them online. In fact, if you ask them for a catalogue now, obviously there might not be anything left. But at least you've got one to have a look through, and you should automatically get them one then through the post next year. But they got some good stuff on them. When I got it now we come to you. Cream for Perfection takes 100 days. Most of the others 70 to 90. But Primulas are the small ones, and I had a go at them last year, and loved them. 70 to 90 days to flower. So I work it from the show day, then I go a week before and a week after. I mean, nature throws you anyway. I'm still bloody out, but everybody's in the same boat. Fish, bud and bone, 4 ounce a square yard, 104 inches deep. That's what I store them in mushroom boxes. I store my shallots, which you can see on the left, and my Gladys. These are in a cold garage, nice and airy. They got paper under them here because there's corn mixed on the leaf as well. Otherwise, they'd just be the paper would be out the road. But I like my gladius. I'm in a few groups all around the world as well. This one is it's in Africa somewhere. I'm trying to think of the name of the chap. But they've got raised beds as well. As you can see, that can reach the middle. But it is common sense. Here's my other mate. Look at him. And these raised beds are made out of bamboo, obviously, because they've got loads of bloody bamboo. But they're using straw as well as a mulch, which is common sense, isn't it? Good lad he is. We follow each other. And my book, that'll be out soon. Got some good crap in there. My next book after, Raised Beds and No Dig. There's Alf Colin, two good ones, with books dedicated to them too. And if you're a mate and kick the bucket, you'll get a wreath of veg. You get the flowers off the Garden Club. This is Matt Biggs. This was a BBC Gardeners World Live. I think it's 2016, I think. Can't remember. But I was there about 5 years on the trot. And I had these like in hysterics. Matt Biggs is brilliant bloke. He'll talk to you like a normal human being. I just told these lot that Matt had saved me his piddle from the night before, so I can use it on my composting. Good thing about saving your piddle, if it's nice and clear, you know you're all right. If it's cloudy, you need to go and see a vet. There's what's wrong with your enders. This was BBC Gardeners World Live again, but this was in the floral marquee, because if we go back to that one, this was in the main arena on the left, Monty Don and all the others give their spiel, and I was in between Carol Klein and Joe Swift, and you had to put on the board what he was talking about, and I was covering everything, and I had a bigger audience with Carol Klein and Joe Swift. Monty Don found out and threw me out, and I ended up in the floral marquee, which is this one here. I still do my talks on the afternoon, but he put me on at 4 o'clock when everybody was going on. I couldn't give the monkeys. Still enjoyed it. This was the Midland branch. A nice chair, that one. But what I wanted to try and do, that's the only veg we had on display, which is a bit weak compared to all the others. But I wanted as an informative or getting kids involved, educating the public, so I get them made. So at one corner it was compost corner, and all the public could come round and see what my ingredients were, what I was using. I'd dish them out leaflets and all this gum, educating them. And on the other corner, which is more important, kids corner. Kids are our future gardeners. We are going to come unstuck. I've lost 6 gardening clubs already from last year. Not something to do with the coronavirus. Just through, there's nobody taken over from in the old ones. Come off the committee. If nobody wants a committee job, they bloody fold. We're going to come unstuck. So this is getting the kids involved. And I did tomatoes, peppers, and I'd grab the kids and I'd say, what do you want? You're doing it yourself. You prick out with a little fork a pepper or a tomato plant, put the compost in, you pot it up yourself, and you can take it home with you. They loved it, which they're going to. Then we have the people who learn difficulties walk past as well, so I grabbed them. And we got our little certificate. Silver, that'll do. But the 2 years before, we got nothing, no award whatsoever. Because they say that there's no veg there, there's no display. I said it's not a display of veg, it's an educational display of vegetables and seeds. So we got a silver for it. That was down Morville again, trying to get the kids involved. Same thing again, peppers and tomatoes. Also, I've got in display one of my leeks and a pepper. That's my compost 100%. Nice white, thick roots tells me I've got good compost. It works. There's our future gardener. They love it. National Veg Society was that impressed. They made the first Thursday DVD. That's out of date now. Right, I had to get it in writing. This was Laverstoke Labs down Southampton. I rung them up, found out there was 3 lab technicians there. I says, right, I'm going to send you some compost. I'm also going to send you my DVD. If you don't mind watching it, then you can see what ingredients I put in. Do the sample, test it, I want to know what to take out or what to put in, because I want the best growing medium I can get, which they did. All the goodies come back, but the main one, bacterial activity, excellent. Fungal activity, excellent. Fungal biomass, exceptional. Nothing to put in, nothing to take out. Got it. Now I've got it in writing. I got in touch with our council because they recycle crap, and this is it here on this photo. I got in touch with the government. I've been in touch with them, about 12 years now. Every new ragwort they get in. No interest whatsoever. All of them have had, well, everyone that comes in office, they got 10 years, 15,000, 5 people to find out an alternative for peat. I've bloody got it. This is the crap our local council does. The Soil Association give them their little mark on it as well. So I rung them up. I says, you put your stamp on their compost, and it's crap. It says the government have told us anything to do with recycling, give them your stamp. Sad. That was ours. You couldn't grow a ferret in it. And that's Birmingham Council. They're even worse than us. They couldn't even get that away. I was bringing it around the allotment sites in Blum, and they turned it away. It's crap, don't it? And it is. Eric Pickles is the one I wrote to first. He needs an allotment. But I'm still trialing and erroring now with everything, because I'm still learning. I did my peppers, it worked with that, so let's try with a couple of, leeks. Let's try a couple of peppers. So this is the best compost you can get, i.e. Leamington's F1 or M3 and whatever, up against my compost. There's the F2, bung that in, there's mine. The roots on mine are thicker and whiter. If I was to water their compost, the feeding or watering, it'll go straight through the compost. There's nothing in any Leamington to hang on to anything. If I'm using normal multi-purpose compost, exactly the same for me spuds, carrots, anything I put for mycorrhizae, that will hang on to moisture, oxygen and warmth, which is what the roots want. With my compost after 3 weeks, because it's got lumps in it, once I'm feeding or just watering, those lumps will hang on moisture, warmth and oxygen. Even the bloody seed companies that you've got to click on sooner or later. It works. And mine kept on par all the way through. So it does work. And I'm still learning into the soil food web, i.e. nature. Still working with it. Them little white chaps there are potworms. Goodies. Unless you get thousands of them. But it is working with nature. Mycorrhizae fungi. Still love it. I used to use this in the greenhouse and everything. But then it's that good. I run out of room in the bloody greenhouse. So now I don't use it till I plant out. But mycorrhizae fungi works with the roots. Colonises the root structure and ferrets away. This is a photo of a pot leak blown up, and I saw these little chaps. Gareth Hopcroft, my mate, up Sheffield. He does the charge. He does quite a few things actually. He's a good lad. He's got his own lab. He's got his in the loft, and he's into his compost teas and everything. And I saw these little chaps around this league. I thought, bloody no, or something else. What the hell are these? So I sent him a photo. He says, a jammy bug and them springtails, them goodies. If you get them in your compost or your soil, you've got good compost or soil. If those baddies, that's the little springtails in my compost. So if you do see them, you know them goodies. Look after them. I also sent him my compost to have a look through the microscope, and he was watching this in the loft about 50 minutes, and his missus thought he was watching bloody porn. I gave him a shout, and because he first rotifer he'd ever seen in some compost. He was over the moon. He kept watching it, couldn't believe it. Meaning, if you've got a rotifer, there's a little chap. Right, the top dog, Elaine Ingram from the States. She is into soil food, compost teas, everything. Has been around for bloody moons. And fell out with me 20 years ago because I said he would make a good mother-in-law. And I was bloody older than her. The next second bloke up in the world is Joel Williams. He's from Australia. Luckily, Starbridge, which is just down the road from us, he was talking down there. This was an all-day job. Cost 80 quid. I thought, solid. I'll go and see the chap because I'm still learning. And there he is. And he covered everything. There's molasses, which has been on about before. Fish emulsions, seaweed kelp extracts. But he covered a lot. And at the end, he says it takes my compost 2 months. I thought, oh, Christ, somebody else is going to fall out of me here. So I told him mine takes, then it was a month. And if somebody sat at the front of the ordnance, well, it gave me a mouthful because I'd upset him. Or sod you. Don't need you either. Something else I'm learning, if you remember Sting out of police, he's got a huge, he lives down Stonehenge, and this was his farm manager. He's been using compost tea, what they do in the States. And this was the first compost tea seminar organised by the Soil Association. I went to the first one, obviously at Sting's place. They've been using compost teas for 3 years, and it works. What they're trying to do now, all these other lot was different farmers, locals, trying to get them to use compost teas. And he did a demo. What's his name on the right? He was from Symbio. They come as well because I was in compost teas and everything. Crap. Well, you could take it on compost as well, which I've done there. And I was looking through, and I said, "You've got bloody good compost here." I said, "Yep, correct." But they said loads of goodies in. And then we did the trial. This is when they make the tea. Now, what they do in the States, they drench everything. If they're doing sweet corn, whatever they're growing, they drench everything. It then runs off the plant into the soil, which feeds it. After the second drenching, it's covered the plant, it's protected it. You don't need insecticides. You don't need fertilizers because all the feed is in the compost tea. It works. Then we was going to a field where we did the demo. He says, "What have you been doing?" Obviously, we're just on a normal field there of grass. So you can eye this up to go over the crops. And there's different brewers, obviously for the farmers because they need big brewers, but for the normal chap at home. But before, this lot used to be clay, and now it's opening up. That's how good it is. But we're slowly getting into it. But that's the Mycorrhizae Fungi I use from there. I buy that bulk, but that's what it does. Mycorrhizae Fungi, when it eats the roots. The normal roots there are the pink ones. The hyphae roots are the white ones that come off. And we're symbolic to each other, so the hyphae roots go deeper and wider, getting more trace elements. And it feeds the hyphae sugars. They do a swap. That's me pulling the pepper straight out the ground. Normally, all that soil would drop off to pull out, but there's that much roots in it, comes out in one ball. As you can see there, that's a tomato I've took out. I pulled him straight out, and the roots have gone over 7 foot in length. This is a cucumber I've just pricked out. Normally, there'd be 3 or 4 white roots on it, thick roots. Because this had mycorrhizal fungi under him. That's what it does in a drinking cup. So if you imagine that planted out in a grow bag or wherever you put it, it's going to go haywire, which it does. It is working with nature. It is using the mycorrhizal fungi. And this is a straw I'm getting out of the bottom of my compost bin. Because there's been no disturbance. Don't forget, this is only after 3 weeks or a month. My selling started working, meaning mycorrhizal fungi is get going. Garlic, you see, it's getting a bit root bound because the mycorrhizal fungi. That's why I just stopped using it. And there's one of my, is it pepper or I think it's pepper, yeah. So trying to get close up before it was blurred. If you look closely, you can see the hyphae roots coming out of the sides of the normal roots. There's a better one. But that's what they do. But if that plant's been in the soil for about 3 weeks or something, them hyphae roots will be 2-3 foot long, even longer. They will go bloody loop. And I'm still trialing myself. Crustacean meal, I don't even know what it was, which is shellfish fertilizer from crabs, shrimp and shells. Natural product. so I'm looking into that as well, i.e. crushing it and trialing that. Oyster shells I use on meat composting. But looking through these, there was a neem meal fertilizer as well. You mentioned the neem tree before as a insecticide, but there's loads of good things out now which I'm looking into. Gypsum, I use that. This is good if you got clay soil. It helps to break up the clay soil. If you use inorganic fertilizers, those salts build up in the beds or whatever you use. Gypsum helps it out. It helps to clear the salts out. So that's a good one. Right, nearly done, folks. Anybody got to get the last bus on? Collegiate Gardening Club, our show, bloody missed that last year, and the talks. We have 4 long tables stretched out. We've got a big hall like it used to be. Years ago, you had a stage, a hall, a bloody great room. This was down the Labour Club Collegiate. But we have 10 meetings a year. We're going to bring them by in June. Show September, second Saturday in September. And then the presentation night, first Thursday in November. But it's a brilliant day. We start early morning setting up and we finish just after midnight. On all day. Love it. Love a challenge. Jams, my jams go in, pickles, wines, everything. My gladdies. Well, anything I got bloody going. I usually make about 7 or 8 trips with my van. That's how much stuff I put in. But everything that gets entered has to stay in. There's no reserves, none of this crap about you don't take it out. Bloody leave it in. Because everything that gets auctioned off, that's for our club. You get enough off us. But it works. And we get loads of stuff in. That's right, Poole is daily a judge. He used to do the flowers for us, judge them. And his missus used to do the cakes and the wine. The first year a judge for us, I did the wine first and made a bloody cockle. Instead of spitting it out, I bloody drunk every one day. I was bloody kale-eyed, cutting the cakes and he sliced a bloody finger off. So now I bring as a grandson to take a rum and bloody kale-eyed. I loves it though. But it's a good day and it's a good evening. We start the auction at 8 o'clock. I have a break for 10 minutes halfway through and everything goes. It's a brilliant night. That's Colin's collection, made a collection on behalf of memory room. It's 2 large onions, 2 8-ounce onions or 8.8 ounce, 3 large shallots and 3 pickly shallots. That's his shield. Presentation night. People don't want trophies anymore or cups, so we give them a bottle of plonk instead, and the kids have chocks. But it's good. On Facepack, if anybody's interested, and on I put my vlogs on about once every 2 weeks, or I might knock that on the end for a bit now, doing these Zooms. I've got to give Ben a shout now so I can get on mute.